There's a specific kind of silence that happens when you park a certain car and walk away from it. You don't look back. You don't need to. You already know what it looks like sitting there. You know what other people are thinking when they see it. And somewhere deep in the part of your brain that you don't discuss at dinner parties, that knowledge is the entire point. Welcome to Aston Martin ownership. Population, people who would never describe it that way. Aston Martin has been building cars since 1913. More than a century of beautiful, expensive, occasionally unreliable machinery aimed squarely at people who want to feel a very specific way about themselves. Not rich, not fast, something more specific than that. Distinguished. There's a difference, and every single buyer on this list understands it instinctively, even if they couldn't explain it to you without sounding insufferable. 7 models. 7 distinct psychological profiles. Let's meet them. The DB5, 1964, the car that started a mythology that hasn't stopped running yet. Yes, James Bond drove one. Goldfinger, 1964, gadgets included. But here's the thing worth noting, the people who actually purchased the DB5 when it was new weren't trying to be Bond. They already felt like him. These were surgeons, industrialists, men who had quietly built something real and wanted an object that confirmed it without announcing it. The DB5 buyer was not performing wealth. He was acknowledging it the way you acknowledge a birthday privately, with a certain inevitability. These were not flashy men. Flashy men bought Ferraris, which were louder in every sense. DB5 men wore British wool, said very little in meetings, and let the car handle the introduction. The design did exactly that. Long hood, short rear deck, those impossibly elegant proportions it didn't need to shout, it simply was. 60 years later, a genuine DB5 in good condition commands prices that require a very short, very specific phone call to a very specific banker. The people who own them today either inherited serious money or made enough of it to have genuinely stopped tracking it. Either way, they've stopped explaining themselves. The DB5 rewarded that long ago. Jump forward to 2004, when the DB9 arrived and changed the commercial trajectory of the company. By 2006, it had found its full stride: more units, more global visibility, a deliberate step towards sustainability. As a business, the DB9 buyer is a different species from the DB5 crowd, and he knows it, and that's fine with him. He discovered Aston Martin the way most people do, through a magazine, a film, a poster on a teenage bedroom wall somewhere in the mid-1980s. He spent the next 25 years building a career good enough to make it happen. He's a partner at a firm, or he's sold a company, or he's had a very good decade in real estate. The point is, he waited, and he knew what he was waiting for, and when he finally walked into the dealership, he didn't need to ask many questions. The DB9 is beautiful in the uncomplicated way that doesn't require justification. Under certain lighting on a wet city street at night, it looks like something a production designer invented. That matters to this buyer enormously. He's earned the right to be looked at. He intends to collect on it. The V8 Vantage from 2008 pulled the brand somewhere younger and angrier, and the buyer profile reflects that completely. Smaller car, lower roofline, more aggressive everything. The person who chose this over the DB9 wasn't interested in elegance as a primary value. He was interested in driving. Specifically, driving fast, on real roads, with a level of commitment that would make his insurance broker quietly uncomfortable. The V8 Vantage buyer has a complicated relationship with the concept of practicality. He finds the word slightly offensive when applied to vehicles. He lives somewhere with access to mountain roads or long stretches of straight highway depending on which coast, and he uses both. He chose Aston over Porsche because he didn't want to look like a software engineer. He chose Aston over Ferrari because he didn't want to look like he was compensating for something. He wanted to look like himself, a specific, slightly dangerous, mysteriously understated version of himself that he's been refining since his late 20s. He mostly pulled it off. The Vantage helped. The DBS, also from 2008, shares a year of birth with the Vantage but almost nothing else. If the Vantage is pure id instinct, appetite, speed for its own sake, the DBS is the superego, composed, controlled, aware of its own gravity. The DBS buyer is a decade older than the Vantage buyer, significantly wealthier, and completely over the need to prove anything through acceleration. He has owned fast cars, several of them. He remembers the phase where top speed felt important, and he's moved through it the way you move through a phase of reading too much Hemingway, with affection and some relief that it's behind him. What he wants now is a grand tourer in the truest sense, a machine that makes covering 500 miles feel like an accomplishment rather than an endurance test. The DBS is built for that, for arriving somewhere in Europe, having crossed 3 countries, and still feeling like yourself. He probably plays golf at a handicap he's quietly proud of. He has a wine collection managed with more rigor than his actual schedule. When he pulls up somewhere in the DBS, he doesn't need anyone to react. But they do, and he notices, and that's enough. And now we arrive at the Signet. Deep breath. In 2012, Aston Martin did something that still defies easy categorization. They took a Toyota 1Q, a perfectly sensible, modest, city-sized microcar, dressed it in Aston Martin leather and badges, and sold it for roughly 30,000 British pounds. The Toyota underneath cost about 12. The math was not hidden. Nobody pretended otherwise. There were legitimate corporate reasons involving fleet emissions regulations, and those reasons were real and boring and beside the point. Because someone bought the Signet, not one person, enough people to constitute a production run. And the question of who those people were is genuinely one of the more interesting psychological puzzles in modern automotive history. They were not fooled, that much is certain. They were not people who looked at the Signet and thought they were getting a deal, or didn't notice the Toyota origins, or somehow missed the irony of a $200,000 brand charging $30,000 for a city runabout. They saw all of it clearly and bought it anyway. Why? Because the Signet buyer often, though not exclusively, a woman already in possession of a proper Aston Martin had arrived at a place of such complete financial and social confidence that she could buy a joke and make it expensive. The Signet parked outside a Mayfair restaurant doesn't say, "I couldn't afford the DB9." It says something much stranger and more powerful. It says, "I own the DB9 and I also own this. And if you'd like to spend a moment working out what that means, I'll be inside." The Signet is the most psychologically sophisticated car on this list. Nobody expected that. The DBX, which launched in 2021, is Aston Martin's concession to reality and their greatest commercial success as a result. It's an SUV, a large, genuinely fast, impeccably finished SUV that became the brand's best-selling model almost immediately. The DB5 crowd is furious about this. The DBX buyer does not particularly care. He or she, the DBX, has the most balanced gender split of any Aston in history, used to be a proper car person. Track days, sports cars, strong opinions about suspension tuning. Then came the life events, children, primarily, maybe a second home somewhere that requires actual ground clearance. The DBX buyer couldn't make themselves buy a Porsche Cayenne, which is the rational choice and therefore the wrong one for someone who has spent 20 years defining themselves through vehicle selection. The DBX offered a way out of that compromise. It's fast enough to honor the past, it's practical enough to accommodate the present, and it carries the Wings badge, which means the school run doesn't feel like surrender. It still feels, just barely, like a choice. The DBX is the most emotionally complicated car on this list, and Aston Martin deserves credit for understanding that the person buying it needed to feel understood. The DB11, arriving in 2017, represents something different again. Aston Martin finally building a car that makes business sense without apologizing for it. New architecture, Mercedes-AMG powertrain technology, proper modern electronics. The DB11 buyer appreciates all of this and isn't embarrassed to admit it. He did his research. He read the long-term reliability data, watched the comparison tests, and came to a considered conclusion, and then described his decision to friends as something he just felt. He's learned, somewhere in his mid-40s, how to want the right things rather than the most things. He doesn't need the most powerful, the most exotic, or the most expensive. He needs the one that's excellent in the right directions. The DB11 delivers that without drama. It's the car of a man who has refined his tastes to the point where refinement is the taste. There's a maturity to that choice that the Vantage buyer will understand in about 15 years, and not a moment before. 7 cars. 7 different answers to the same question. What kind of person are you, and what does your parking lot say about it? The DB5 man confirmed something. The DB9 man finally arrived. The Vantage man stayed young a little longer. The DBS man chose comfort without shame. The Signet buyer made irony expensive. The DBX buyer refused to disappear into practicality. And the DB11 buyer learned, late enough to appreciate it, that excellent is enough. That's what Aston Martin sells across every model, every era, every price point. Not transportation, not status, exactly. Something quieter. The feeling that you know who you are, you made a decision about it, and you had the resources to act on it. In a world that spends considerable energy making people feel uncertain about everything, that's not nothing. That's the whole product. The car is just how they deliver it.